What's up, guys? Welcome to the 21st episode of the Trackside Girls podcast. Nope. Nope. You got it.
Wait,
There you go.
I get it. I'm into it. I got
Season
it.
2 of the Trackside Girls podcast. Did I say? I don't know. Bro, I'm out of it. I just woke up from a
It's
nap.
oh, it's another Harrison episode.
Um, and since we start with NASCAR, why don't we go ahead and mention that news. So during the race on Saturday, we'll get into the specifics of it, but Carson Hocevar wrecked Harrison Burton under caution, and Carson got fined for it. He got fined $50,000 and docked 25 driver points for wrecking Harrison over the weekend. But that was after the weekend. Let's start from the beginning. Oh gosh, where to start? Okay, so obviously they were in Nashville this past weekend. I was there. It was so hot. Like ridiculously hot. It was 7:30 at night and we went back to the car. The car said it was 108 degrees outside. So,
It was this temperature that it was in Nashville was the same how it was in Clearwater. So
Clearwater.
it was like 108 degrees. Kansas, where I live,
Okay. I think Clearwater,
or
Florida.
or technically, yeah, or technically Wichita, whichever one you want to look at.
Okay.
It was whatever temperature it was in Nashville, it was the same degrees here, and it was disgustingly hot, and I did not like it one bit.
First Thursday night, we saw Lane Riggs, or actually, technically, my dad did. Saw Lane Riggs walking down Broadway. Um, and so I talked to him the next day, mentioned it. Um, but Friday, the trucks had practice qualifying in the race. Um, and that was the only activity on Friday. The only thing I think um, that needed to be noted during practice and qualifying of the trucks is that Nick Sanchez crashed in qualifying. I think that was the only um, eventful thing, I would say. Um, Matt Mills and Ty Dillon didn't take a lap in qualifying. Tanner Gray also got into the wall during his qualifying lap. And like I said, Nick Sanchez spun into the wall in turn 2. So Nick Sanchez had to go to a backup car. Timmy Hill had transmission issues. Ty Dillon, Matt Mills, Tanner Gray, all to the rear for unapproved adjustments. But it was Stuart Friesen that got the pole with Grant Enfinger on the outside. But, it wasn't going to take long for Christian Eckes to get the lead. On the first lap, it's Dean Thompson, Mason Massey, Brett Holmes, Timmy Hill, oh my gosh, I can never, Ogata, I can never say his first name. Wreck in turn 3 when Mason Maggio makes contact with Dean Thompson. So, they didn't even, the caution comes out in lap 2. They didn't even, so.
I love when we barely race and then the caution flag comes out on lap 2. That seems to be a recurring theme with almost every single series that's happened this year.
Yeah. It's, but, so they get going again after the caution. Another caution comes out, lap 9. You got Brett Holmes Rex from 33rd. So they run it back. Let's see. So Christian leads the fields with Stuart Friesen on the outside, and Lane Riggs takes second away from Stewart. Tamajeski runs fourth with debris on the front of his truck. Cade Honeycutt starts smoking and then goes to the garage. Somehow, I guess this is just like, because they ran so many green laps. Somehow Nick Sanchez gets lapped, and then also Tanner Gray loses a lap. So like I don't know if they were just running long enough to where the leaders caught them or what, but so they were down a lap early. Christian Eckes wins stage 1. And so Christian Eckes comes out of the pits first again, so he is leading the field with Corey Heim on the outside. And immediately after the restart, you got Taylor Gray spun by Ben Rhodes from 8th, bringing out the caution. So on the restarts, again, it is Christian Eckes and Corey Heim on the front row on the restart. So Thad Moffitt was not in this race this weekend. It was Dawson Cram who was filling in for him. But Dawson Cram actually wrecks on this restart when Chase Purdy stacks up the field in the inside lane. I'm guessing they're referring to Dawson said this, but said they were playing games in front of him. Clint Boyer got damaged when he hit Chase Purdy in front of him. So that brought out a caution. Frankie Muniz has to go to the pits, and they go under the hood. Stephen Parsons and Lane Riggs nearly wreck, battling for 8th. And Lane has like a fantastic save on this. And then a couple laps later, Stephen Parsons gets spun by Lane Riggs. After they had contact several times. And because this was so close to the stage 2 start, Christian Eckes ended up winning stage 2. And because of Lane Riggs spinning Stephen Parsons, he actually is held for 2 laps for reckless driving. Jack Wood spins from 13th after contact with Connor Jones. And then we're getting close down to the end. Clint Boyer nearly spins Lane Riggs, but it stays green. And Christian Eckes leads every lap and gets the win.
That's my boy.
And
that's my boy.
Yes, Lakota picked him for our picks of the week, which I actually saw him on Saturday, and had a quick chat with him and let him know that that Lakota did pick him, and
that's my boy.
He was very smiley about it. He's like it's a good pick then for sure. So
you're welcome, Christian, you're welcome. So
but that was trucks for the weekends. On to Saturday. I don't know why like Xfinity practice and qualifying didn't get put on Saturday, or didn't get put on Friday. Why they put it all into one day, I don't get it, but whatever. So Saturday, it was fairly early in the morning. You had Xfinity practice and qualifying. as far as I know, there wasn't any issues that I can remember. Because I literally got to the track like right as practice was starting. Oh, actually, Jessie Love didn't make a lap in qualifying because they found a hole in the radiator after practice. So they had to fix his car. I was wondering why his car was like they were still working on it whenever everybody else's was lined up. But there you go. He had a hole in the radiator. Jessie Love, Sheldon Creed, Austin Hill, Jeb Burton, and Blaine Perkins had to go to the rear due to unapproved adjustments. And you had Ty Gibbs get Xfinity pole, which was I feel like wasn't gonna be unusual. We knew that he was gonna be fast in the Xfinity series. It was a hot one. The cars during during practice and qualifying were already up to like 112 degrees inside the car. So really that was my worry. But the outside temperature was 94, but it felt like warmer. And during the race, you had cars get up to like 130 inside the car. Before we like do a rundown of the race, I know during the race, there was just specifically Blaine was he said there was something warm on the side, like inside the car, like burning him on one of his sides. So I couldn't tell you what that was. But it was hot. Like there were multiple drivers who were being given bags of ice on each pit stop so they could like shove it in their suits and stuff.
Well, I was gonna say because Riley's cool suit stopped working. His was pumping hot air,
Hot
and so they
water.
so he had to go down the pit road to have his team get it out. And then Noah stopped working. And then in the interviews, you learned that Jesse stopped working, and it all stopped working within like what the second half of stage 2 or like this like part of stage 1.
Blaine. So they actually switched Blaine's because his broke a couple weeks ago, and his didn't work either. There were multiple drivers who went to the infield care center. Blaine was one of those. It was over 50 laps to go, and he came over the radio and he was like, is there anybody else out of the race already? Because I might need somebody on standby. Like and then he was, he even said he's like, count me down every 10 laps. I need to know how many's left. And so what they did on every pit stop was they dunked rags into ice cold water, and what he was doing is getting those and shoving it into his visor opening, like to keep his face cool. Like it was ridiculously hot, and as soon as he got out of the car, they had medical on standby. They took him on the like cart and immediately to the infield care center, and he went and got an IV.
I would say a lot of them did, because Riley got IV since he was racing the cup race. Noah went to go get some.
I think
A lot of
Sam did too, because I think I saw him walking back from the infield care center.
I would say a lot of them probably went to the care center to go get some IVs and some fluids in them because it was hot.
One of them for sure.
Well, yeah, that was the only one that I knew that they actually announced that Riley was the one that did it because he had a rate since he was doing double duty.
Yeah.
Although, because right, they talked about Riley a lot with his cool shirt not working and everything.
And the fact that he also literally dumped his water bottles on himself because he
Mhm.
basically blacked out in his car.
And he said his vision was starting to go blurry a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, he couldn't see anything. He raced that like two laps he raced like that and then he dumped his water on and then he told his team, sorry, I had to do it. He's like, I couldn't see anything. So Riley basically kind of blacked out in his car, but not really blacked out, but it was bad.
He just said his vision was just a little bit blurry.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm sure that's why Blaine stuffed that um wet towel in his helmet. Like it was
That would
probably the
that,
same type of situation.
that would have had to been, yeah. Riley, just full force, just dumped his water bottle on himself.
Well, that's the thing. Like that a couple races ago when at Charlotte when Kyle had all those fumes come in, like that's what he had to like take water and splash his face like.
Oh yeah.
So I'm guessing it's like the same type of situation, but like obviously not with the fumes. But
Yeah, probably.
it was definitely. Go ahead.
Didn't Riley said there's some things like the rule is like you don't dump cold water on your hot cool suit because it'll just burn you. But there's just like some like, you just gotta do what you gotta do.
And that's exactly what he did. And then he
Mhm.
regretted it. And that's why he had to go down to pit road when it was closed still to go get that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He did
I
say
know,
that.
like I know, with it when the cool suit breaks, like cool shirt, it's just pumping hot water through there. So like if it can burn them, so it's either they got to get it taken off or they got to pump all of that water out of there somehow.
That's what they did for Riley. They pumped all the water out. It was just to the point Riley couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah. But all right, let's get into the race. Um, like I said, Ty Gibbs was the um, pole sitter. It was green all the way through stage one, with Ty Gibbs winning stage one. It says he's continuing to struggle. Riley's continuing to struggle on lap 55 with the cool suit. So it broke even before lap 55. But it was all green through stage two. John Hunter Nemechek winning stage two. Um, and then that's when Riley came in prior to pit road opening, so the crew could drain the cool shirt.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. You didn't have the first caution for cause until lap 136, when Justin Allgaier makes contact with the left rear of Ty Gibbs and spins him. Um, and Chandler Smith ends up making contact with Justin Allgaier in that moment. Actually, oh my gosh, that was the only caution for cause of the entire race. It goes green until John Hunter Nemechek wins, which none of us picked John Hunter. I don't think we ever picked John Hunter.
Because I never want him to win. And then he
Mhm.
always ends up winning. I hate him so much. I hate him. I have never been a fan of him. Never. Not in trucks. Not in cup.
Nope.
Never will I ever be a fan of him. I said that about Christian and Corey, but look at me now. But John Hunter, never will I ever
Mhm.
like him. His kids are cute. That's about it. But never will I like him.
So, Cup qualifying. Okay, as far as I'm aware, nobody crashed. There was no issues in practice and qualifying for the Cup Series. But it was Denny Hamlin who got pole for Nashville. Justin Haley
Boring.
was penalized for making an adjustment after inspection. He lost pit selection, started in the rear, and did a pass-through penalty at the start of the race. But let's see. So it starts, and it was green through stage 1. Christopher Bell wins. And the first caution for cause is at lap 116 when John Hunter spins off of turn 4. They restart, and a couple laps later, Ty Gibbs spins off of turn 4 from 9th through the grass, which I'm pretty sure there was one time during this race that there was a car through the infield grass, and they did not throw a caution. I think it was like during one of the restarts, but we'll get to that. But Ty Gibbs slid up the track and made contact with Alex Bowman before spinning. They restarted and then had a caution for lightning at lap 135. So they red flagged at 4:16 local time, which if you're in the Eastern Time Zone, that is actually an hour behind. That I did not know. I did not know Nashville was an hour behind until I got up there. But the drivers were called back to their cars at 5:24. The red flag lasted an hour and 21 minutes. And so they get back going. Cars return to the track. Austin Cindric gets sent to the rear for working on the car under the red flag. Let's see. So this is dumb. So listen to this. This is why he got sent to the back. The crew had a fan on pit wall that was pointed at the car. And NASCAR believed that it was cooling the car. And it was providing an advantage. So that's why Austin got sent to the back. But they restart Christopher Bell on the inside, Tyler Reddick on the outside. Christopher Bell ends up winning stage 2. And it goes green until lap 202, where Riley Herbst gets into the wall from contact with Corey LaJoie, who got loose up the racetrack and hooked him in the left rear. Okay, so they restart after the caution with Riley Herbst. And on the restart, Eric Jones into the turn 2 wall from losing a right front tire. You have Chase Elliott spins off of turn 4 from 6th and goes through the grass, which I was a little upset because he was one of my picks. So I was hoping that he was gonna stay up there.
You picked him?
Mm-hmm.
Bro, I literally...
Chase and Ross.
I literally don't remember the picks at all. So I was like, I don't know who I picked.
Who did Corey? Which one of you?
Oh yeah, you picked Alex and Corey.
Oh yeah, I did. That rings a bell now. But
Christopher Bell gets into the wall from 15th after getting loose, checking up, makes hard contact with the left side and the outside wall. Ryan Blaney is leading the restart on this. Brad Keselowski crosses the nose of Austin Dillon and spins in turn 2 and backs the car into the wall. And this is the moment that Carson Hocevar deliberately hooks Harrison Burton on the backstretch under caution. Harrison's audio is normally, if you ever meet Harrison, he is the sweetest, smiliest boy you have ever met. At this moment, he was not.
I can definitely agree on that one.
He was cussing up a storm after this
I watched
moment.
Radioactivity, and let me tell you, Carson didn't say anything nice about him.
Like, I don't know what started that. I don't know. Like,
No one knows what started it, and they even said in the booth that they went back to go see like if anything happened between them. Harrison never did anything to Carson at all.
like I don't know where that came from.
I don't know either. All I know is that Carson deliberately just did it to Harrison for no reason. It was basically like Austin Hill and Cole Custer, where Austin basically just wrecked Cole out for no good reason. That's what Carson did to Harrison. I'm a little mad at him. No, I'm not even a little mad at him. I am so mad at him. I am so mad at Carson.
I feel like it's hard for you guys, like, cause I feel like you guys are a lot more invested in Harrison and Carson than I am, and like, because you like both of them, you can't really pick a side. So,
Oh, I'm on Harrison's side. I'm so mad at Carson. I'm so mad. I am so mad. I'm gonna have words for Carson at Bristol.
okay.
I will walk up to him and I'm gonna be like, why? Why did you do that? I'm so mad.
But so they get started again. You got Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney. Like those were the front runners. Those were the ones that were competing for the win. Ryan ran out of gas, so he had to pit. And on lap 299, I believe this race was supposed to be 300 laps. Okay. Austin Cindric spins on the backstretch after contact with Noah Gragson. One, that was so exaggerated. So exaggerated. Like, Austin's my favorite driver, but that contact, so exaggerated. He, like, don't get me wrong, I didn't want Denny Hamlin to win this race either, but I kind of felt that the spin was kind of on purpose. Like, it did not look normal. But they go into overtime, and this race was a collective 5 overtime restarts, which is the record in the Cup Series. And so on the first overtime, Denny Hamlin starts in the lead, Ross Chastain outside, Kyle Larson inside, second row, Kyle Busch outside second row. So you have Larson pushes Denny Hamlin into turn 1, literally catches the apron. His side skirts, you can see the sparks, sends him up the track, hits Ross Chastain. Wrecks Ross Chastain. Like I said, Ross was one of my picks, so I'm sitting here mad. We are driving home from Nashville at this moment in time. I am so mad. I'm car sick. I'm mad. Like, I'm tired. Gosh. So, Kyle Larson gets sent up to the racetrack into Ross Chastain, spins him into the wall. Ross is done. Wrecks the back of his car. But it also collects Kyle Busch and Ty Gibbs, and Austin Dillon, John Hunter Nemechek, William Byron, and Daniel Hemrick all make contact in this stack up. And NASCAR, in this, makes the decision to move Kyle Busch back to 4th place. When he got stopped on the track by Ross Chastain being in his way. I originally didn't think that Kyle made contact with Ross, but I do believe they did make some contact. But for some reason, people were livid that NASCAR moved Kyle Busch back to 4th place for the next
everybody's trying to figure out why he got moved back to 4th place, because even the guys up in the booth were like, why? Everybody was confused. They're like, why is Kyle Busch in 4th place? He shouldn't be in 4th place. He's not supposed to be in 4th. Like, everybody was so confused. Everybody was like, why is he in 4th place?
But it comes back to him, okay? It comes back a couple restarts later. Second overtime restart, Denny Hamlin leads inside, Kyle Larson outside, Martin Truex third inside, Kyle Busch fourth, and Daniel Suarez spins through the grass. Multiple car wreck on the backstretch. Ryan Preece gets into the rear of Harrison Burton, turning in mid-pack, collecting multiple cars of Corey Haim, Justin Haley, Josh Berry, Todd Gibbs, Ricky Stenhouse, Ryan Blaney, and Daniel Hemrick. They were all playing the risky gas game. Okay?
That is for sure.
Like, a lot of the drivers believed that they could make one overtime restart. And it was straight up the risky gas game. But the leaders end up staying out. They do the third overtime restart. Denny Hamlin is leading, Kyle Larson outside in second, Truex third, Kyle Busch fourth, and Chase Briscoe in sixth, which is the first car that has more fuel than the top five. Kyle Larson ends up out of fuel and holds up the top line, and it causes Kyle Busch to wreck because he's not expecting Kyle Larson not to go. And spins out the start-finish line.
Which he did his signature bow because everybody was clapping that he was out. Everybody was cheering that he was out, and so he just did his bow.
Yeah.
Once he got out of his car.
I saw him do that, but it didn't really look like he was bowing. It looked like he was like pointing the AMR safety truck.
Yeah, it's like kind of a little bit of a bow, but it also kind of looked like it's telling the AMR safety crew to like come get me over here.
Yeah, I know. Everybody was like, he's doing his bow, and I'm like, kind of, but no at the same time, because he didn't really do his bow all the way. Sometimes people.
But Denny Hamlin and Truex pit, but all the others stay out. Joey Logano is leading at this moment in time, and his last pit stop was on lap 220. So here he is 100 laps later on gas. So then you have Chase Briscoe, who pitted 4 laps later than Joey Logano. Corey LaJoie, third, pitted at 2:44. Zane Smith, fourth, pitted at 2:45. The fourth time restart, Chase Elliott was slow and out of fuel. Chase Briscoe gets a good launch, stays with Joey, but Joey clears him. The caution comes out because Josh Berry spun and hits the turn 2 wall and is stopped on the grass. Alex Bowman pits for fuel, but while pit road was closed. And Corey LaJoy pits, which at first I was confused of why he pit. But the crew actually had to go under the right front wheel for a mechanical issue. Because we thought that Corey would make it, and then just all of a sudden he disappeared from the top 5. But also Chase Elliott pitted. And then for the final restart, 5th overtime attempt, you have Joey leading on the inside, Chase Briscoe on the outside. Joey gets a good launch, and somehow Tyler Reddick goes from 6th to 2nd in that amount of time. And Joey takes the white flag, and he holds off Tyler Reddick. Chase Briscoe ran out of fuel. Daniel Suarez and Truex make contact. Truex spins, hits the wall, and Chase Elliott spins off of turn 4, going through the grass. But ultimately, it was Joey Logano who won his first race of the season. So that means all 3 Penske cars are now in the playoffs, just like they were in 2022.
I do have to say why I like that a Ford won. I didn't really care what Ford won. I do have to say, it is a little bit odd that Joey had less gas than Chase Briscoe, and Briscoe ran out of gas, but yet Joey still made it the 5 overtimes without pitting, and then he still had time to do a burnout. This is like Austin Hill all over again when he had less fuel than his teammate, and literally when Jesse ran out of fuel. That doesn't make any sense.
Let me tell you what happened. Okay, so first, Ford's incredible gas mileage, better than the others. Joey was coming out of turn 4, and it stumbled. He just had to ride it out. So he did run out. Like he had to switch to his I guess he switched to the reserve. Like I don't know if he was like completely out or if he switched over to that little bit that you have left. But it did stumble coming out of turn 4. Like I did hear that. I can't remember. I don't know if one of the guys on his team told me that or where I heard it, but that did happen. So he was very, very close. If there was another restart, he would not have made it. But he had that just amount left and did the burnout. So yeah, it wasn't him.
Not makes sense.
Yeah, it was not an Austin Hill Jesse Love situation. It was either like Joey saved more and then ran out at the very last minute. So that's how it worked out. But it was Joey that ended up winning. Which means we finally get some Penske playoff shirts because I don't believe they made them last year. Just because they didn't want to leave Austin out. Because they made playoff shirts for all 3 of them in 2022, but I don't remember them making playoff shirts last year because Austin wasn't in the playoffs. But now that all 3 of them are back in the playoffs, they can make the shirts again. But okay, let me see if there's any other.
Zane got his best finish.
Yes,
of the season out of all the Spire cars.
Yes, he was second.
He was 0.068 from getting his first Cup win.
Yes, he was very, very close. And
the Wood brothers have an announcement. for who's going to be their driver.
So my guess is
Everybody's saying Josh Berry, but they're hoping it's Ryan Preece because then if he sucks, then no one's going to really care. Everybody wants Berry to go to a completely different team and not the Wood brothers.
so apparently the 21, like the Wood brothers said last week that they were gonna give Harrison another year, but apparently that isn't correct. So
I was going to say, because Bob made the tweet saying that Wood brothers have an announcement sometime this week or next week about who their 2025 driver is going to be.
yeah,
And
so
everybody's thinking it's Josh Berry, but other people are really hoping it's Ryan Preece because then it's a no one cares about that because no one really cares about Ryan Preece. Is
yeah.
at least that's what the comments say
So
from what I've read.
we shall see. Lizzie Moosey, I think that's how you say her name, did some like street drag racing. I think that's what she was involved in, but she was the girlfriend of Jeffrey Earnhardt, who she passed away. I believe it was from cancer. If I remember correctly. People believe that Hooters has parted with Chase Elliott and Hendrick. So
They did because Hendrick Motorsports made a statement about it.
I didn't
Because yeah, Hendrick Motorsports made the announcement that they've parted ways with Hooters because one, Hooters isn't what it used to be, and two, a lot of the Hooters are shutting down because they don't have business anymore.
Ruh-roh.
So that and before Hendrick Motorsports even announced it, NASCAR fans are the FBI because I guess because I saw one tweet saying that for a couple of weeks now, they've noticed that the Hooters decal hasn't been on his car for the past couple of races.
I noticed that people noticed it like for this time that there was no decals of it other than on like a couple pit crew guys' fire suits.
Yeah, well, it hasn't been on his car, I guess, for a couple of races.
But it potentially Joseph Newgarden to run Bristol. That would be cool to see what he can do.
If he runs Bristol, I'm gonna be there.
Like
I didn't get there.
Yeah, I didn't get to catch him this weekend. He was only there on Sunday, unfortunately. But I think Haley Deegan's getting sacked, guys, because Joey Logano is going to be running the 15 Xfinity car at Chicago this weekend. So we'll see how that goes. Homestead Miami Speedway is going to be making a major announcement, which actually should be out if anybody wants to like look at that real quick while I'm reading.
I sent it in the group chat.
Let's see. I see the one about. Oh, here we go. Oh, okay. They just got a new track president. That was their announcement. So one thing that we normally go into IndyCar, but one thing I want to note, John Force, in NHRA. If you don't know John Force, you should know John Force if you know motorsports. 16 championships, like absolutely incredible. 75 years old and still winning races in the NHRA. He I want to say like a week or two ago, had an accident. His chute did not deploy. He hit the wall going 300 miles an hour and the car exploded. And he was put in the ICU, then moved to the neuro ICU. Luckily, his condition has improved. as of lately, but we do believe that his career is at the end of the line, just based off of this, and we hope that he has a speedy recovery. I've known about John Force since I think I met all the Forces over my lifetime, and I used to go to a bunch of drag races. Met John Force like when I was like 9 or something. So he's an incredible racer, and so I just hope, I wish him the best in his recovery. But quickly, a couple IndyCar things. Christian Lundgaard will be driving in for Arrow McLaren next season in the 7, meaning Alexander Rossi will not be at Arrow McLaren anymore next season. And IndyCar is debuting their hybrid stuff at Mid-Ohio. And finally, after 2 decades, the horsepower that they run will be over 800. The quick F1 stuff. So first, they're racing at the Red Bull Ring, and in Austria, they added gravel to multiple turns to stop track limits, which I knew at the beginning of this that it was going to ruin some drivers' days. But for the one free practice session, it was a sprint weekend. I didn't realize that before, or else we would have done our picks for both the sprint and the race. But for the free practice session, drivers were having steering issues. There was a really close call between Lewis and Stroll, as well as Nico Hülkenberg and Charles Leclerc. And Max was stopped on track due to engine issues that caused a red flag. There was a close call between Yuki Tsunoda and Alex Albon, and it was almost as if they were already in the Grand Prix or in the sprint between Yuki and K-Mag, because they were quite literally racing during free practice. Lando went through the gravel, and it ended with Max P1, Oscar P2, and Carlos P3, which after the engine issues with Max, he did get back out onto track, so which is why he kept his P1 position for sprint qualifying. In SQ1, there was a major save for Lewis Hamilton. This is where the track limits started deleting laps. Lewis touched the gravel. You had a big spin for Yuki Tsunoda. And this was the first time that Logan out-qualified Alex Albon.
Oh boy.
In sprint qualifying 2, you had Logan Sargent's lap deleted. Lance Stroll had a big slide in the final corner. In SQ3, there were issues for Charles in the pit lane, having to do with anti-stall. No lap times were posted before the checkered flag in this session, but drivers did start their laps before the countdown ended, and it ended with Max on sprint pole, Lando P2, Oscar P3. For the sprint, the McLarens were fighting, and it was Lando and Max trading places back and forth, and Oscar capitalizes on them two fighting, but it is Max winning, Oscar P2, Lando P3. For qualifying in Q1, both Williams and both Kick Saubers were out along with Stroll. Q2, you had both Visa Cash App RBs, K-Mag, Pierre Gasly, and Fernando Alonso out. And Q3, Charles goes through the gravel. Oscar gets a lap deleted, moving him from 3rd to 7th. And then it ends Max pole, Lando P2, and George P3. For the race, Max and Lando were battling. There had to be a nose change for Charles from contact with Oscar. Alonso locks up and ends up hitting Zhou Guanyu, causing Alonso to get a 10-second penalty. And the Alpines were battling each other. Max had a slow stop and a lockup on the outlap. And it all came down to lap 64 when Max turns into Lando, messing up Lando's front wing, and then Lando turns back into Max, puncturing Max's rear wheel. Lando has damage and receives 5-second penalty, which is what is the major controversy from this weekend. Lando was very upset with Max. Max didn't see anything wrong with what he did, but George Russell capitalizes on it and wins the Grand Prix. Oscar P2 and Carlos P3. If Molly would have swapped having Lewis on top and Carlos second, we all would have had a correct pick. But I had George as winner. I technically had him as long shot, but he won, and then Lakota had the correct placement of Oscar Piastri in P2.
No.
But yeah, there's a lot of controversy within the fandom of who was in the wrong, and people defending Max, people defending Lando. It was a whole ordeal. Max confirms that he will stay at Red Bull after the Mercedes rumors. Williams has hired 5 highly experienced F1 technical leaders, plus a new chief information and analytic officer. One of the Williams junior drivers wins an F3, and Franco gets P2 and F2. You're going to have Franco Calapinto, I don't know how to say his last name, will be in Logan's car for FP1 for the British Grand Prix this weekend. And Williams will also have a one-off British Grand Prix livery, as well as Red Bull will have a new design this weekend. Let's see, Alpine, former Mercedes Power Unit Chief Andy Cowell joins Aston Martin as the new CEO. Aston Martin is confirmed that Stroll will be staying as the driver at Aston Martin, and then also Pierre Gasly commits to a future at Alpine after a multi-year extension. So with all of that, we're gonna move on to this weekend. This weekend, NASCAR is going to the streets of Chicago. So it is only Xfinity and Cup.
Mid-Ohio.
Yeah.
Yes. IndyCar's at Mid-Ohio, and then you have the British Grand Prix, which is kind of ironic on 4th of July weekend. But also, obviously, 4th of July is only an American holiday. So I thought it was kind of funny. So let's start Xfinity Series. Who you got? I'm going SVG.
Parker.
I got
Kliger?
Cole.
Okay.
Parker Kligerman I got
Okay.
Parker. Parker.
Cole.
Okay, now I gotta pick my my long shot. I was gonna pick Cole for my long shot.
I got Justin as a shot.
Okay.
I said Jesse as my long shot. He's never been there, so let's see what the boy can do.
Mm.
Hopefully good things.
I'm gonna say
No.
I'll go AJ Allmendinger.
Cute. Sorry. I don't like that.
We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Okay.
You got Kyle Larson racing in the Xfinity race in the 17. You got Ty Gibbs in the 19, John Hunter in the 20. Obviously Joey Logano in the 15. Daniel Suarez in the 36.
Oh, they finally put his name in there. The last time I looked, it said to be determined on the 36. I didn't know who was going to be in there.
Connor Mozak in the 88.
My boy Connor. I love him. He's super nice.
And Josh Bilicki's going to be in the 92 this week. Alrighty. So for the Cup race, I'm going to go Shane again.
I got Blaney.
I got Alex. And then I said Ty as my long shot. So instead of Xfinity,
I also said Ty as my long shot.
Oh, cute. We're matching.
Okay. Am I gonna do the same as my Xfinity lineup? Is that what I'm gonna do? Because AJ's running the 13 for Colleague in the Cup race. You know what? I guess I'll do the same. I'll do Shane and AJ for both Xfinity and Cup. We'll see how that goes. All right. For the Honda Indy 200 at Mid Ohio, I'm gonna go.
I got Joseph. That's my.
Okay.
Who'd you say, Molly?
Joseph.
I said Alex Pillow.
Okay. I'll go Colton Herta again. Okay. What's our long shots?
I got Alexander Rossi.
Dang it.
I said Pato.
God, you took mine. Molly took mine. I was gonna say Alex. You know what? I'll go Marcus Armstrong. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so for the British Grand Prix, it is not a sprint weekend, so we just pick for the race Lando Norris.
I said Lando and George.
I said Carlos Sainz and then Lando.
I said Lando and then George.
I'll go. Okay, since we're doing multiples this time, I'm gonna say Lando, and I'll go Lewis. I feel like at the British Grand Prix, I feel like people would want a Lewis.
I almost went George and Lewis. I almost did both of them, but then I went back and forth between doing Lando and Lewis, and then I was like, nah, I'll do Lando and George.
Okay.
I say the same people every time. It's something.
Alrighty. So that's it. That's our picks. Gonna be. Actually, no. The UK is only 5 hours ahead of the East Coast. So not too bad. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for listening. However you enjoy our podcast. This has been the 21st episode of the Trackside Girls podcast. Yes, both of you are correct.
Or my Harrison episode, as I'd like to call every episode that gets to 21.
But yeah, let's do our outro. Is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Okay. It goes peace,
Peace.
love, and race cars. Up, both of you are matching.
Christian.
All right. Good night, everybody.